especially the three area we are going to cover, that is the inclusiveness, then collaboration, and the how altogether the talent and diverse talent can be involved. These are your and your journey, and then your interest and your strategy for especially to the workplace, where we are putting this discussion around the how the workplace culture that organization can build, your strategy, your experience, that we are discussing on deep. We especially the three area we are going to cover, that is the inclusiveness and collaboration, and the how altogether the talent and diverse talent can be empowered. So these are.
I have about a little more than 20 years of experience, having primarily worked in IT industry, and more so in product companies, in service provider organizations. And I think the last about 13, 14 years in a GCC setup. And being a woman, it's really important and essential for me to at least break the glass ceiling and to come up and above what has been prescribed as or at least unsaid norms of the society. So that's
Right.
something that I am kind of looking at, and I would advocate the same, because I want the generations or the women who are actually wanting to get into a corporate world, who want to get or at least be successful. I would like to be their mentor. I would like to pave the path for them, so that they can follow my footpath and see the success that I have seen, or at least I'm embarking on. So that is something that I would want as part of what I'm doing in a corporate world. Having so many years of experience, I have seen how organizations have shaped up from the time when I started my journey to what it is now. I think it has really grown tremendously. I remember a time frame when my mom, who was who constantly told me that hey, you know what, if you do not get educated, you'll end up being at home. You will have nothing else to look forward to in life, just the family.
Right.
And you would end up being late, because my mom is a homemaker. So while my mom comes from a very educated background, she chose not to study. So that's something that which has always been ingrained in our upbringing, that and our family has only two. Basically, my parents have only two children, and both are daughters. So it has always been an ongoing focus to get a daughter educated, so that she can stand on her own irrespective of what her challenges are. And I think recently, when I come back and look into the corporate world, I see a lot of women making entry. There is a lot of progress in STEM education, where you see a lot of women um, getting educated and joining IT industry or science stream, and then flourishing. So I do have my own set of challenges when I say that, because at some point in time I see a lot of dropout, or for that matter, I would say that they are still there, but they are not really achieving that pinnacle. When I see that hey, what, when I see at a certain level how many women are there to how many men are there, I really don't see their representation being there in all at all levels, in all forums. So that's something that I kind of want to change for women.
Great, fantastic thought process as well as your journey, the mission you have been taken up as a woman and every organization. When we talk about HR, it is about the people services. It does not mean the individual specific. It is a function as an HR. Then altogether, who are the people inside the organization, directly, indirectly. So it is altogether they have to take care of those. In that scenario, the people see many challenges. When we talk about the human capital, the human asset, really as of now the capital is one side and a liability, and second side when we have make that as an really the talent as an asset for the organization, there as you said, the inclusiveness, collaborativeness, and the empowering diverse workforces that come into the picture. So first I would also extend that you have been shared as something that is the implicit, the biases and discrimination which should not be there. But in that cases, however, industries, there are the many cultures. If we see the multinational organization, they have some different standard. If we see the local Indian organization, they have this different the parameters for thinking on the numbers of businesses. But from the other organization, multinational organization, they are thinking on the culture building. So in that case, so what are the key challenges that you has been experienced, and that how you have prescribed these challenges, which can be overcome to developing an inclusive workplace culture.
Okay. So, I mean, picking up on your point of multinational organizations versus Indian organizations, um, I do believe one thing: people are people,
Yeah.
irrespective of who they are, where they come from. One is, what shapes them is nature versus nurture. Nature has
Definitely.
created them the way they are, but the way they have been nurtured. Nurtured is not just how you have been brought up, but the surroundings. What has made an impact to you when you grow up? So that
Correct.
defines you as a person. You might have seen certain scenarios, things would have worked in your favor. In certain scenarios, it wouldn't have. So it might be your experience would be very, very different from somebody else. So people are very different. So they always carry certain perceptions, certain prejudices, which you can't change. But as an organization, be it multinational organization or an Indian organization, their intent is for people to come together and bring in that synergy in an organization. That is always the intent, irrespective of where we are or where we come from. If that is the case, I've seen a lot of HR organizations or at least HR entities, they really work towards bringing that by means of keeping an open communication with people, by regularly, having kind of, having a lot to do with in terms of they keeping any kind of surveys on an ongoing basis to do a pulse check of employees of how they do or what they are doing. So all those factors are really, really important and essential uh, for uh, for for an organization to succeed.
So when we say as in the individual, what perspective would that come for or come from? But as the extent, it is always to their foundation. If the foundation, their foundation is strong, then they can be grown.
Yeah.
Either it is respect of the any organizational culture. It is not about adjustment. It is about their learnings, how they
Mhm.
can move with their challenges. They can convert the challenges into the opportunity that we can consider as part of the either the that the resources, not as in the HR function, but as in the every individual within the talent within the organization resources that are the individual. They may be different, but altogether they have some their own intent of that how they perceive the things or their opportunity, how any challenges they convert into the opportunities. And then further we focus on especially to the workplace culture, where we say that everyone can be inclusive, where we say that that should be collaborative. Every people they can be have their common thought process. Means it does not mean the perspective of the individual, but as part of the organization perspective. So we as consider as collaboration as part of the reaching to a common thought process, so that organization can make it better decision as well as achieve their goals. So in that case, so what the maybe success strategies you can recommend to implement, and especially to promote the diversity and inclusion into organization, rather than where the organization have experience. That is about especially to the when we say the recruitment part, where maximum organization, even though we have been seeing that they are just making the number balance, male and female ratio should be balanced. That is not really any diversity and inclusion. But other side, it is about what you recommended your success strategies, as you have been seeing the two shaded of the corporates before pandemic and after pandemic, and then after you are now heading one of the organization from the top angle. How do you see and what successful strategies can be referred to the organization perspective? Here we do not talk about the HR only. It is the organization perspective and the top leader, how they have to look forward to really develop an inclusive and collaborative workplace within their organization.
So this starts from the grounds up. So when I say
Right.
grounds up, at every
every single stage, even before we talk about an employee, about what kind of inclusive hiring are we doing. Okay. So when I say inclusive hiring, we are talking about what kind of interview panel are we talking about? Who is interviewing the candidate? What kind of candidate profiles are we getting? Are we having an equal? Are we consciously looking at having equal, diverse set of candidates when we are sourcing profiles? uh, to the stage where how we give them the right sort of experience when they go through the entire journey of being hired into an organization. um, that is one aspect of it. Once they we roll out an offer to a candidate, then comes the process of onboarding candidate. What are we setting examples, or what kind of perceptions are we building? Because the candidate has not yet joined your organization. He or she still holds the offer in the hand, but they still, right now when you see people kind of at least have minimum 2 3 offers in their hand, and then they make the choices saying, hey, is this the kind of experience are we getting in an organization? What what example are we getting, or what are our experiences when we interact with so and so person? So that is something that we have to be very very conscious when we are looking through that entire journey till you onboard that employee. Now, when I say once you have onboarded the employee, again, it is about once somebody has joined an organization, what happens? You can't just leave them clueless in an organization, because the person has to navigate within the organization, get adjusted, imbibe the culture of an organization. Who is going to help them, support them in the entire journey? Are you really having a very, very collaborative approach there, or you're just kind of isolating an employee and let them go and figure things out? Yeah, on one side it could be a good approach, but on the other side it definitely does not work, because if you want a person to be successful, you need to prepare them for the success, and not otherwise. So therefore, that is really, really important. We also create something called as, I think I've also seen in a couple of other organizations as well as, um, something called as employee resource groups, where you can always, hey, you know what, you're encountering a challenge in an organization, you always have the resource group to reach out saying, hey, this is my first 3 months in an organization. Hey, this is how things are going. How do I get myself better? How do I reach out for avenues of support? Or who can help me in a certain situation? What do I need to do? So those kind of things are there. And then irrespective of whether being somebody being a man or a woman, or whatever be the case,
Right.
there should be mentorship programs, because that shows that an organization is interested and invested in the candidate, or an employee who is supposed to be a long-term employee, or at least that is the intent of any organization, to keep that employee as a long-term candidate in your as part of your payrolls. So that is something that I have seen generally works. And also, I think in the recent times, at least post-COVID, all these things just doesn't help, because a lot is to do with your, I mean, all the while we kept ignoring that, your mental well-being is a key essential element. So I think, what has got the focus post-COVID is an employee's well-being, be it social well-being, be it emotional well-being, be it psychological well-being. All those things are very, very important. And the organizations which succeed in retaining employees are those who have always focused towards it.
Right. So this is that the fantastically you said that the three the inclusive or collaborative workplace when we have to design in term of where we are just the interacting and we are just pushing the new hires or talent to the organization, because when one time whatever we have been discussed beforehand, which we say as in the recruitment part, that is the journey he can be influenced. But next is that when he would come to the workplace, exactly what you are communicating, what you are grooming, what you are the feed you are going to feed them, so that would help them to be stay with your organization for the longer period of time. When you have been defined the, or you have been described the three strategies as you have been shared. One is the inclusive hiring processes, and in that case, however, when we talk about the interview panels, and then what it may be inside, what really the if we say as an SOPs for recruitment, and then after it would be the one side the HR functions, their perspective, the behavior assessment would be different. But rather as in the technical part, who are the technical interviews they have to take care. So in that case, can there be some the different strategy? However, what are the strategies are there? So HR done only to the 2 and 3 phases of the interview. Then rest it would be depend on the technical interviews, what they required. Based on that, the individual selection would be depend on the technical more. So in that case, just you can elaborate more on the conscious inclusive hiring practice. So what better can the organization do where we say that the collaborative work environment? Because this is some areas I have been experienced this.
Okay. So, when we talk about uh, uh, good hiring practices, as I kind of highlighted earlier, it needs to be an equal mix of, or the right kind of profiles which are coming to us. It can't be only one-sided kind of profiles saying, oh, you know what, I have also heard these comments. Hey, in technical roles, only men are suitable. Okay, women cannot do it. Hey, you know what, for data related roles, hey, women are better suitable because it's a desk job. Um, or an application support, women are better suited because, but in an infrastructure role, a man is better suited. Unfortunately or fortunately, as it turns out to be, I'm in an infrastructure role and I'm kind of heading it. So therefore, I don't see that those kind of things matter anymore. But again, we need to partner better with our recruiting partners, to understand and give an opportunity to everybody equally, irrespective of it. At any point in time, sometimes we may not really have the right kind of profiles, but we may not necessarily have to negotiate on the quality of the profiles, but we will have to do is to make sure we do have equal representation from them, or at least we have given ourselves a fair hearing from all the right individuals, and then make the conscious decision to select the candidate, rather than just having a certain kind of a bias saying, hey, you know what, let's just go and pick up somebody who is the right fit for the role, which turns out to be a male, or a certain sex. So that's something that I believe that we have consciously tried doing, and giving an opportunity to for both men and women, or whoever is a right fit for the role.
Definitely. So it is that these strategies, how leader can create organization, can focus on to what they have to look forward into the that the talent they are looking for and they want to be get for their organization. When we say as part of the cultural fitment, so that is depend on the what culture you have been inside, and then what you are focusing, who is coming outside. So that mix and match should be there. That is, I can say that the really and collaborative and inclusive workplace we may have. But when they come to the another stage now, at the during the interview, that the initial phase or the first phase of hiring, we said that we have big thing. When the individual employee come into the right picture within the organization, then you see what is actually been in the organization. So in that case, that as you mentioned, or you have been also described the mentorship program helping them out. So However, many organizations they are now moving ahead with the mentorship program. But when really it comes as in the mentorship program, that sometime maybe really as in the reprimandation, going to they are not really on their job role perspective, going as not aligning the individual with the organization perspective, but maybe some other side may possible be go through. So in that case, what would be your strategies and how your the mentorship program is working within your organization? And secondly, as the what can be relevant and covering into the mentorship program, rather it is the career grooming, it is their personal grooming, or either especially focusing on their behavior development. What consideration you have at present within your organization, but still you are looking into the future also, what may be the new trend come into the mentorship programs?
So, on a personal level, I have been mentored by a couple of folks within the organization, and those who have known me, with whom I have probably worked in the past, and also with independent entities who have never known me anything. It is all about how transparent you are with them about what
Okay,
you would want to accomplish and achieve out of your mentorship journey.
right.
If you would want to change something about your career, yes, you will identify a mentor who can guide you in that right direction. But if your
Okay,
career aspiration is not what you would want, say for example, um, your mentorship program is expected to groom you as a human being or as an individual to get yourself better. Uh, may not be for a role immediately, but for something which you're probably eyeing 10 years down the line. So I think we need to be very very open and honest about what we are looking, and keep ourselves honest about what are we planning to accomplish. Is it a short term objective, is it a long term objective, or a medium term objective? So having that in mind, if you kind of make a approach, it should definitely help you. um, I think put or fit the puzzles.
Rightly. So that a right way to be how the mentorship program really can help either the individual specifically when we talk about mentorship that we consider for the individual specific. So it is depend on that where they want to move. So accordingly, they have to choose their mentor. If it is the you want to go into the right way, you choose the mentor that is bringing you to the left way. So in that case, it can be mess up. So that's
Mhm.
why the right strategy as well as the right picking of the mentor. So that would help the individual to be more focused, to be more streamlined toward their career goals. So when we talk about as part of the individual perspective, as we have been discussed about the mentorship. So the second part come here now when we say that the every individual they have the different their culture, creed, everything, the backgrounds are there. But whether it come to the inside organization when we are developing and the inclusive workplace as a culture of the inclusive culture, or we see it as the inclusive workplace. So in that case, how or what are your strategies you have been experience you have been developed, or either as on the top side you are here within and your organization. So what how you are especially making your individual people feel them valued within the organization, and what are the make that creating them with them the one-to-one connect so that they can realize really that they are valued within the organization.
Okay. So I think uh, again, as I said earlier, people are different. Their preferences, what they would want to accomplish in an organization are different. Some have career goals in terms of achieving a lot in the career. Some are very very technically sound, that they are kind of they have a mindset of, okay, they're primarily into research kind of a mindset, who do not want a career growth, but they're happy with what they are doing. So I think when I look at my teams or wherever I have worked, I have always focused on the customized learning journey. How do I scale or enable them for success? So how do I do that? If somebody has a career aspirations to grow up, to move to the next level, so I would probably look at, hey, what am I going to do at an as their boss or as their line manager? How am I
Right.
going to shape that up? Uh, am I going to put them in forums where they kind of show up or build their leadership skills, because that is probably the need of the hour, or that is what is required for the next role. If somebody is a hardcore techie, then I kind of look at shaping them for that role by looking into what kind of trainings which will help them do their role better, or to get their sense of fulfillment in their current role. There might be some other people who are more of people centric. They don't feel they're neither technical nor any different kind of capabilities they're looking at, but they're more of people centric individuals. Then I kind of look at getting them into roles or opportunities or specialized program which help them understand the people aspect so that they can do it better.
Right.
So those have been. So I don't think one program fits everybody, but we need to look at what people's aspirations are and what they are good at, and also sometimes maybe people have XYZ aspirations, but you need to keep them true to what is your perception, because as an outsider in perspective also will help them realize, hey, you know what, this is what I would want to do, but this is what or how people perceive you are better in XYZ aspects. So maybe what, maybe you have to follow your strengths, or you can probably look at developing what is it that you would want to accomplish. So those are the kind of things that we do. And again, we also have executive sponsorship programs when it comes to grooming and shaping individuals from senior leaders who can advocate for them in their career fulfillment. And then I think at the end of it, the cultural foundation of any organization, and the organization extending support to their people plays a very very vital role um, in,
Yes.
in in accomplishing what we would want to for that individual.
Yeah, rightly. So when we say about the inclusive workplace, so it is not the individual accountability, and however, not the from the team side, it is the accountability and first hand the responsibilities of the top leader. We say it as the leadership. So as part of when we talk about the everyone must be feel valued, so there the top leadership there to play a crucial role if they are they create themselves as the model, so it is very easy for the individual to grasp and especially walk on the same footpath. But other side there sometime where the leadership is considering to pushing the bottom line, so you have to do this, you have to do that, till then at the top side it is not exemplified. So in that case, what would be the strategies which can specially empower and the team and their role of the leadership, the top leadership also, where they can rightly foster the collaborative as well as the inclusive work environment. What strategies you have, and what may be the future be looking forward with these strategies, because the top leadership always have that they have that role model always to play if we had to develop an inclusive workplace.
Okay. So one is, there needs to be a right mix of what your aspirations are versus what I can offer. What I can offer, by that I mean what I can offer as your leader, and versus what the organization can help and support you accomplish. I think we all have to come together in those aspects, and then carve a path out, because at the end of the day, it is not what I would want or what the organization would want. The accountability and the decision making factor lies with the employee, because we
Yes.
are able to help them shape and mold. We are not deciding on their behalf. So unless and otherwise they are committed to making this a success, it
Right.
would not really necessarily work out, or it may not. Uh, it won't be a healthy exercise that we would be doing if we kind of decide what they should do and what they have to do. And so I don't think that that necessarily works. Maybe it might work in the short term, but on a long term, if it needs to be a healthy relationship between an individual and the organizations, it is always the employee who makes that decision. So therefore, I think that is the first starting path that we would like to tread, and then any other programs in terms of their learning journey, their sponsorship programs, the foundations that we would want them to um, the opportunities that we would provide will all fall on it later. But the first thing is the employee has to be clear about what is it that they would want to achieve.
Yes. Right. So when it is come to as part of, especially to be that faster grow in the organization, there are the one most important thing is the people, individual. When we say in perspective of the organization, it is the talent. So that should be clear about what they have to achieve. Second, come it about that the management side or your organization overall system side. So that must also be assured that what the role position is created and who is the person is fit within that, or you have been hired for that. He must have that much skills available, and then if it's not there, so then you have to groom, you have to mentor, you have to coach them to getting that right the talent for organization as well as the right skill, so that they can grow with the organize, they can help the organization to achieve their goal. And secondly, it is most important for them to be also define their own goal too. But when we are talking about the inclusive workplace or the workplace or workplace culture, where we say as in the inclusiveness should be there as well as collaborativeness, and where we are especially focusing on the how the difference of the talent or in especially to the empower the diverse talent. Now, most important part, we can have the multiple things. We can have now what is talking into the multiple platforms. But at the end, when we talk about the perspective of an organization specific, when we have to say that these strategies we have been introduced, now what is there especially that has been successful or that has been failed? If it's successful, so what is the ratio of success? What efforts we have been made? What's still required to improve and further to revamp these strategies? So in that case, my point come here now. That is the most important part. Till then, we cannot say that the particular strategy thing is successful or not. We do not measure that. So now come to the point here that how the effectiveness of any diversity or the inclusion initiative programs by organization that can be measured. So here I would like to ask you or get you some of the clear insights and what these practices you have for measuring, how you measure that, and further what would be some the gaps maybe come and how you prepare for overcoming these gaps for the further period of time.
So I have seen in a lot of organizations there is a yearly survey
Mhm.
that is called NPS survey that goes on. In a lot of
Okay.
other organizations, which, or at least in the recent times post COVID, I have seen a lot of these surveys have been enabled quarter wise. Um, uh, I mean, initiated by HR. Certain surveys which just specifically ask questions about, hey, these are the HR initiatives. Do you think we have been successful? If not, what are your views and how do you think we can? So that's something that I have also seen. Otherwise, if you're kind of running a half yearly survey, there are probably separate sections which talks about, hey, how do you think about these initiatives which are HR centric? What do you think about these initiatives which are workplace centric? So on and so forth. So there are specific questions, but then it also depends on if you're kind of keeping it very very vague, open ended. you can get some responses, but generally we have seen that, when you send out surveys, people do not want to fill in many more details in it, because it is, while it can be said anonymous, using
Yes.
the verbatim, people can read out what has been written and who has written it, and sometimes
Yes.
there's a fear of retaliation and getting
Definitely.
back at the employees. So that's something that there. But then very very categoric questions on, hey, XYZ program, what did you think? How effective was it? If not, uh, give specific examples of how it can be better. So those kind of things, if those surveys uh, are drafted, or at least there is lot of effort required to be put in to get those surveys, which will actually capture the sense of how they are being perceived. Are they really effective among the employee community, or they're really not helping? Because sometimes, we if we do not, so this is how we always talk, what we cannot, if we cannot measure, we cannot improve. So it is very, very essential part that any programs, any initiatives, anything that we are driving should always have a positive or a negative outcome. At least when you know that there is a negative outcome, you can go and fix it. If there is a
Perfect.
positive outcome, how can we do it better, or how effective can they be? And are people actually valuing them, or is it really helping people? Is something that that definitely helps. These are not the
Right.
like the, IT metrics which are like, okay, yes, no, 70%, 60%, 50%. Those are not really those kind of metrics, but these are something which really have to capture the insights. Um, some of them, I mean, just a quick example is, for example, retention rates.
Yeah.
When you hire somebody,
All right.
what is the percentage of diverse talent are you bringing in? That's something very very easy to calculate. How much is the retention percentage?
Right.
How many diverse candidates are being promoted? Are they being even evaluated for a promotion? What
Yes.
has been our trend year on year? those
Definitely.
are those are some of those which can easily be captured. But if we are putting some other programs, XYZ programs, um, uh, which are about, hey, you know what, we have a wellness program of, um, uh, you can reach out to our psychiatrist to get help. We know that the only the volume of of the individuals who are seeking out, or at least reaching out to the to the forum, but you do
Right.
not really know, did it really help them, or did it not, did it fail the purpose of helping them? So that's something I think we need to find. It's a fine line that we have drawn, because we would not want to encroach on people's privacy. So, but the rest of the things can always be metrics driven.
Yes. So rightly you have been described that the if we have to assure the successfulness of any initiative and strategies, it does not mean what is right, what is wrong. There is some at least what value has been created. As there are the number can be come from like when we have some visiting. Someone is visiting some places 100 times 100%, but actual the purpose of that visiting is something else. So when we have to see the success of any strategy, so there we have also to focus on that the core part. That is, we were here discussing about, especially to the strategies of HR professionals and the organization, especially how to measure the whatever the framework, whatever the strategies they have been developed for their organization. It is not about to the focusing on the X and Y axis, or either it is the right and wrong. It is about the impact, how the strategies, what impact they have been actually created. So that is the right metrics that can be utilized for measuring these initiatives. When we talk about collaborativeness, when we talk about inclusiveness, as well as when we talk about as in the really the workplace of inclusiveness or inclusion. So these are the essential parts where the we have been discussed about the leadership role also, because till then the leadership does not play as in the important role. The bottom line cannot walk through the path. However, your strategies you have been shared that are really as in focusing to the future forward. When we go really beyond to the strategies, their measurement, it is now as in when we had to create the workplace, it is the field, as we earlier discussed about the values, how individual can feel valued within their organization, even though they you also refer the surveys. However, you also second side you have been referred that surveys already individual know who has been written, what is the purpose and what to be getting out of that. But when we talk about as in a really inclusively, we had to create an workplace culture that we have to go beyond to the number game, to the data capturing and showing it to the management we have been achieved. But it is about to be getting the things to be resemble, exemplified through the behavior aspect of the individual. So in that case, however, when we go to initiate, promote any new strategy for the organization, what happens at that point? The people always resistance that. In that case, because people do not want to change, they have now accepted and they have been into their we can say it as in their core area. They do not come out from that feeling that what they are enjoying into the workplace. So in that case, the new strategy is always giving some trigger to those are into the comfort zone. So in that case, what should be that? What would be your processes? What would be your thought, and what would be your especially express your experience when the people resistant to change and there any implementation of these strategies, either it is diversity inclusive policies or otherwise it is something else. So in that case, how you that assured within your organization, and secondly it is that within your experience as of now 20 years into the HR domain, so what is your suggestion to the other the leader as in the who looking further their organization to grow faster? So it is about their these strategies should be into their mind. So what is your suggestion? What is your experience altogether? I want to mix and match that your strategies, how successful are those, and that further how you have been dealt with when there are some resistance from the people. Either it is your top level people, it is from bottom line. We cannot say it. That does not make that can be groomed, that can be get and the consents with the bottom line people. But if you come where the mid level or the stakeholder or the top level people have the resistance for these such initiatives, so in that case, how you deal with what your strategy has been there and what you are looking forward to be, what should be.
Okay. So there are statistics which says that most of the changes in an organization, at least 70 to 80%, they fail.
Right.
Why do they fail? If we kind of go back and look into it, why do they fail? Is because somebody who's making those decisions or the policies has a certain perception, or based on some analysis that they would have done, they say, hey, you know what, here is what we would want to change as a new policy, as a new initiative and all that. But what we actually, or at least most of the times that we fail, is involving the entity who is at the receiving end of it. So for example, in this case, an organization, any initiatives are taken to help employees, be to empower employees, be to bring in certain new focus, or to change something. But if we do not involve an advocacy from the employees who act as your representatives to frame such policies or to create such um, initiatives or to chart out something that needs a change, I think those programs generally tend to fail, because when you involve these employee groups who are going to be your ambassadors, they will definitely make sure, because they are part of your the group for whom you're kind of running these programs. So therefore, it is very, very essential, or it is imperative that we have to have a group, like how when we run programs, you have a stakeholder community. So one of the stakeholder community should be your employee representative group,
Right.
who will, because they have a vested interest in getting this successful, because they are part of the change and they want to make it successful for them as well as for everybody else. So therefore, it is very, very important at bringing this community to be part of that initiative that we are trying to drive, will ensure that there is success to this whole program. So that is my take, because I think that is where a lot of organization, a lot of things kind of fall flat. So I think this is something that if we could do, it will definitely ensure the success of the engagement.
Yes, rightly. So these are the initiatives, especially you have been rightly described that what the organization perspective as the individual perspective required to take actions. Now come to the successful, the talent strategy within the organization, and even we say it as in the individual success within the organization. So how that can be really initiative into the organization when we come to the success of the individual. So that is how effectively he or she can achieve the organizational goal. In that case, the career development program of the organization are helping them, making them advance, and also referring the advancement to the skills. If we go the period before COVID and after COVID, so there are especially we saw two and three major things which there was earlier the stagnant into the skill development. But after the COVID, there are now the changes happen as part of the technologies come into the picture, and that also making fear to the individual perspective that if they are not learning the new skills, what would be happen? They may be replaced. So that's why the reskilling and upskilling come into skilling, reskilling, and upskilling come into the picture. However, when we talk about the employee development or the career development part, either that is the deprived on the group of peoples, but when someone is there into the organization, whatever the background he she may have, but in that case, how the organization they further can enhance their or especially to advance their career perspective into the organization, where we focus these strategies like having some the customized learning journey. So how extend that customization can be done? First, I want to get through your expertise on that or your experience. Second, come to the where how extend the organization go for the sponsorship programs for advancing their skills. Third is the most important, which is the what culture, the foundation of your cultural and that the organizational support, how much you have been involved within your organization, and what is the role of the top leader into such initiatives. So how the organization can move really with these strategies to the next level of especially having the retained people within organization.
So technology changes so often. I mean, yeah, so many things keep changing, and especially uh, with people having access to cloud, and uh, with uh, with cloud adoption everywhere, a lot more. It has given avenues for people to get into AI and anything else that comes up in future. Um, so I think one is the organization requirement. Does my organization have a requirement uh, to invest in those developing technologies? Yes, I think most of the organization do have vested in interest in developing or grooming their individuals. Second thing, technology has been growing really, really at a fast pace, but does my organization need every single technology change that has come into the picture, and do we want to adopt everything? May not necessarily be the case. Um, for every industry, that may be the case, because we can't change our organization, or we can't shape the organization with the, or at least we can't catch up with the rate at which the technology is changing. So we kind of,
Right.
we analyze what exactly is required, and we kind of invest in our people, considering a time horizon of 3 to 5 years. Hey, what exactly, where do we want to see people in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, um, and therefore we kind of think about how their training, or the educational or development programs have to be. Of course, I think a lot of organizations may not really have that ability by themselves. So of course they do go ahead and partner with external agencies who can help you, support you by um, framing that curriculum, and then use, of course, you have your learning department within the organization who has a certain budget, who will focus on, or at least gather from all the teams across the organization as to what exactly they are foreseeing, that in terms of technology adoption in their organization or in the teams. And then we kind of shape up or design a educational program which will help, or at least we start from the fundamentals and then go on to intermediate levels, and then as well as advanced levels. So that's something we as an organization do.
Okay.
When you see these kind of things happening in organization, people are also, I mean, one is that we say that hey, we want to retain our people, but what are you doing for your people to retain these people? Yeah, some are hygiene factors, some are motivation factors. So I think you're learning what how you invest in your people to scale them up, to educate them, to give them the um, learning acumen that they are kind of looking at, is something that really drives every employee, at least, or most of the employees in an organization. So that's something I think we kind of invest on an ongoing basis, um, as part of every organization. So I think that kind of works in our people favor, to help retain the talent.
Yes, sir, rightly. So this is the golden takeaway for the HR leaders. So whatever the technologies are going to be come up, so that does not mean the organization had to foster with all that, but it is which is for the individual perspective they can go reach to there. But for organization perspective, they have to consider what is relevant and much need for the organization, so they can be fostered with that. Secondly, when it comes to the individual successful within the organization, so they are rightly the people have to go with number one to this, build their strong foundation. When the strong foundation is there, then the organization can see the gradual changes into their individual performance and achieving the organizational goal more fastly. So other side, when the career development is the not as part of just to the internal strategy, it should be the part of mission vision of an organization. So that's why organization can achieve more through the people or their asset, where we say as in the human capital, human asset, human resources. What is that? Whatever is the organization, they have the terminology, but at least it is the skill required within the people. They have to input it. When they are inputting their initiative, as they have the skill, so that organization as part as a term of the outcome, they can get the right result for their businesses, because engaging the people or talent, either what diversity they have, so that is all about to do the skill, number one. Number two is that skill, how rightly that can be used by the organized, that is the either HR function strategies or the organizational, the people strategies, how rightly they are going to use, and ultimately outcome can be reflected to as in the organizational goal to be achieved. So these are rightly the strategies you have been said, when we talk about the more advancing or enhancing the career, so there now the starting from the foundation, then it is going to be building or engaging the leadership, mentorship, and systematic barrier removal essentially required. Till then, when we are going one step ahead, so we have to look forward, look back to the two steps, so that what we have been done, can it be more that helping the organization or individual to move faster in their career. And so when we talk about the individual career development, further come to the specifically as part of some specific programs, how the organization they can significantly design or especially focusing on improving the employee engagement. When there are the improved engagement, so we can measure that as part of the retention. However, maximum organization, the engagement is referred to the retention, or retention is referred to the engagement. If the person is engaged, well engaged within the organization, so she is considered more retained for the organization over time. So now I would like to ask your insight, your suggestions, and your experience into this, especially when designing some programs, especially to where we have to engage the employee. So what should be the programs, where and how the organization can engage the people more within their dedicated role, we say it, and what should be the strategies at the end. If strategies are there, because copy pasting can be done, but how, as in the organization from the top side, they can look, because the top side, you know, the business, second side, you know, the outcome. Now bottom side, there is the one curve that is about your talent. So now come to the your specific program you are designing. So that is about how you are engaging your people within your the operational process, and at the end you are achieving the outcome, what the organizational goal is. When I say as in the outcome achieving, that is the organizational goal ultimate.
Um, so when we say that, we have, again, as technology keeps moving in, at a very, very fast pace, you have a
Right.
certain requirement within the team. Then, as an organization has certain outcomes or achievements to deliver. I wouldn't say that, um, there is a requirement, so therefore, we have hired those individuals. We are scaling them, we are grooming them, and preparing them and making them ready for future roles. Now, sometimes it might not necessarily be the case with everyone, everywhere. So what we do is we kind of, hey, let's say that, if there is an X role for an individual,
Okay.
that person gets an opportunity to take that role. An XYZ person who is the right fit for that role ends up, going into that role. But then there might be a lot of other people who are aspiring to get into a role or something very similar, because nobody
Right.
really knows how that role might shape up. So I think, this is something that, I have seen or I have tried out in the teams, giving them, or at least, building an interoperable framework, around that certain kind of skill. It might not be an X skill, it might not be specifically a Y skill, but actually building skills around those areas of the expertise that they would want to achieve will help them get into roles which are very, very similar.
Okay.
Because I think, what, one is, demand versus supply.
Right.
Uh, we have a lot of people, which is a supply, and we have a demand for an X role. So therefore, I see that, if we kind of, irrespective of, having or focusing only on getting one or two people for that role, we should be able to build a pool of individuals who can work in and around that area. So therefore, even if that person is qualified for an XYZ role by even 40%, you still get an opportunity to shape them, get them into a role or similar kind of roles, and then build them or build that talent. So therefore,
Okay.
basically like a fungible talent around, so which will help you groom the team, groom an individual, and also fulfill the business needs which are
Right.
required. So that actually helps, because it may not be. So for example, there might be a situation that just giving you an example, I never knew at some point in time what exactly I wanted to do.
All right.
So my mentors or the organization actually shaped me and helped me work around that role. So therefore, what, some other role, when another role came up, which was like, okay, somehow of a fit, or at least somewhat of, to some extent it was a fit, I was able to immediately pick up that role and actually grow into that. The minute you start growing into that role, you still see, hey, you know what, I can add value. I have a different thought process. I come with an understanding of XYZ. So therefore, my opinions, my views, or my skills are valued in this role. So that's something that I kind of look at when I am shaping teams or I'm shaping individuals.
Rightly. So when we talk about the improving the employee retention, that is most importantly what they have to do and what they can do around. So that is the that the initial criteria or parameters to deciding. But now you have been defined one thing, that is the right fit. So here one additional question I would like to know, that response or your that strategies or your actionable within your organization. So what in pointer one and two pointer you can exemplify. So what is the criteria, especially you define the right fit for any specific position?
Um, for technology roles, there. Okay, so if it is a cloud engineering role,
Okay.
the skills are around specific cloud related technology. It could be VMware, it could be Azure Cloud or Amazon or maybe Google Cloud. So that is, if somebody has skills working on those, it is deemed to be a right fit from a technology point of view. From an organizational point of view, you should have an understanding of working with cross-functional teams. You should have a cultural competency, and you should be willing or flexible to work in time zones, or imbibe the culture of an organization. So all those aspects, which are the softer elements, versus those technical competencies or the must have for a role, are also considered. So those as a package are considered as the right fit for a role.
Great, fantastically. So that is a right criteria you have been standardized for the organization, how to decide the right fit. So that is a really good help to the other the professionals also, how they have to decide the criteria for deciding of someone or their skill specifically, how they been the right fit for the position. There may be the number of the interest, but who would be the right fit? That would be depend on your strategy, number one, and that your criteria you have been decided for measuring the weightage, especially to what skill the person have, so that he can be or he she can be particularly aligned with those requirements or the criteria too. That is fantastically the way you mentioned, especially to the holistic approach, and which is measuring the success of the program effectiveness, so that will really work for the organization. However, not in this today's perspective of 2025 or 26. It is the need maybe next to 10 years also, and that is also going to help the organization. Now, where we are moving head to end, that nearly closing to the end. So at the before understanding that we are discussing about the perspective of the inclusive workplace, there are now the new trends coming from the if we see at the overseas or the globalization are there as a global perspective too. So that we are also talking now. But when coming to the real condition of the localization, so that has have the some different scenario. So in that case, first I would know to that, in especially to the inclusive work culture and the workplace, what are the trends you consider that are coming up and how they are shaping the organizational culture for the future. And third one, which I would like to know, that is about how prepared you are there and how other can prepare for those trends and changes are coming to in perspective of the next 10 year down the line.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Uh, what I see is right now, we have always been talking about um, diversity. Um, yeah, we keep talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion, but
All right.
we have always been focusing on diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
Okay. So I think, now people are also, or at least there will be a focus towards equity, which means that, how fair are we treating people, how fair practices, or in terms of every other aspects, in terms of the opportunities, everything we are kind of, starting to evaluate how equity is. So therefore, the focus is all has been on equity. And um, also, what, when we talk about, okay, the workplace, the culture, um, um, building a collaborative culture, we have uh, we have always spoken in terms of uh, okay, yeah, this is something that, that X company has done better, Y company has done better. But I think, in this era where, technology has taken an upper hand, I think a lot more will be very much technology driven. And also, when we were talking about, measuring those data, measuring those metrics, how do we improve? If we can't measure, we can't improve. So all those things have also uh, organizations have also started tracking those. Apart from that, um, what generally we underplay is, okay, post COVID, remote work. Hey, how does it matter? It really doesn't. But then, there is a lot of there are a lot of questions raised. There is a um, lot of eyebrows raised in terms of, hey, what, somebody is
Right.
working remote. What is the impact? Oh, we can't collaborate. Oh, for anything and everything, we will have to be on, Zoom call or Teams call. So I think, understanding that, and probably a future is for, remote working while people are still back, but then you see a lot of people still working remote, um, have moved to tier two cities. So therefore, I think, there will be a lot of focus on that. Again, there is a lot of divide between the generations now. We see, when I see people in the team whom I'm hiring who are just Gen Zs, there is a lot of difference in, how you will have to adopt to the ways of working with those Gen Z kids. So that's something that, we will have to learn, how we work, and the trends that are actually picking up in the recent times. So that defines your workforce dynamic between them.
Right.
How do you kind of balance it out and work and still um, get them to working? Because they no longer are the generation who believe, okay, it's 9 hours stay at office and, do the work. They probably believe in in a kind of, or at least this is a generation where they say, hey, you know what, this is my work and I can finish it in 2 hours. Do not question me anything beyond that. So I think, we need to learn how to balance and work with them, so for optimum output.
Rightly. So when we are post-COVID era, and there we are not just in three, four generations, we are now look that engaging the multiple the generation within the organization. Their specifically the need, and secondly their thought process are very different. So, however, for the stakeholder, that is also difficult to deal with as the when we talk about the Gen Z. So they are especially to the less work but getting more. They should not be scrolled. They should not to be called beyond the hours. So in that case, dealing with such the generations within an organization, it is really that difficult for the organization to have the especially to the collaborative work environment or work culture within the organization. In that case, what you have been mentioned that required the global cultural competency. So here I must ask to you the global, especially it is for the IT organizations. But when we talk about the manufacturing, there around 80% of people have to be physically attended the workplace. But when it comes to the IT or there, it is sometimes 100% remote would also be there. Either it is the hybrid also there. In that case, how you decide and what should be when we are talking about the trends, either that is the perspective of the next 5 year or down the line next 10 year. So there is the one trend where we looking further to the impact is going to change on the globalization. So there, what types of the global competencies you looking forward to the should be address into the coming years of the workplace or the work model, work environment, or especially to the we are talking here about the workplace culture.
Would you mind repeating your question?
So here I'm talking about the you mentions into that the written you have been given. So that is the global cultural competencies. So how you are deciding this, and secondly, and so how you are balancing, because that is the remote work also. So how you are balancing these global competencies.
So again, depends on the organization.
Mhm.
There are different kind of organizations I have worked for. One was typically a hardcore IT setup.
Okay.
Another is a FMCG. Another is healthcare. So
Okay.
having worked in different kind of organizations, I think FMCGs and product companies or IT companies, IT product companies have kind
Okay.
of really really evolved because
Mhm.
they know how to work with different cultures because they have established their centers all across the globe. So
Yes.
of course, on a regular ongoing basis, they do have to connect with their counterparts in different parts of the world. And then there is a
Mhm.
lot of travel as well between them and regular calls, regular connects. So I
Okay.
think there I do see very very less of a challenge.
Mhm.
But when it comes to what manufacturing,
Mhm.
manufacturing by that I mean okay, say for example factories or automobile industry, and for
Right.
that matter healthcare industries. The regulations, the directives of the government, and a lot of other factors are very very different. You need to understand the nuances associated with countries, with the
Yeah.
regions that you operate, and the people working in those. So I think um, um, educating our workforce on the cultural nuances associated with those industries, with those regions, with those
Yes.
the
Reasonable.
regulation, with the guidelines that we have, is very very essential. So we kind of appreciate each other's culture and why a certain person is behaving or acting or dealing with the situation in a certain way becomes very very important because these have been very very traditional industries which have been operating. So I think to ensure success, that is something that we kind of do that. So wherever there is an opportunity, you always make sure people travel, people have regular calls, uh,
Mm.
and I think primary as a team, I do encourage people doing video calls rather than just having audio calls because at least they put a name to the face. They know who
Yes.
they are interacting with. You get to understand them on a regular basis. So I think that kind of generally helps break the ice when you operate in these kind of industries.
Rightly. So that is a great initiative that the regional perspective you are taking, that really the global the competencies of cultural competency can be enhanced. Either that it is the moment or transition of the people also, but it is also helping the organization to have the different the cultural transition, so that the same platform you can create in your organization, either that is into the different locations or different regions or the different countries or the different continent, we must say it. So at the end of this conversation, so when we talk about especially looking forward to the IT industries, that is much more depend on the innovations, because we see every day there are the technologies coming up, there are the gradually improving after COVID, or in the last 1 and 2 years, we haven't seen multiple things into the IT area, or the technology has been come up. So in that case, when organization have to maintain the respectful and inclusive workplace, so how that can be go hand to hand with the innovation and also maintaining and the respectful and that the inclusive work culture also within the organization. What are your strategy within the organization you have been, and what you look forward to have more innovation into the IT sector, and then having as in the collaborative the work culture? I
I'm
mean
of the
that how your organization making it possible.
Okay, so I'm of the view that when we need to foster this inclusive and respectful workplace culture, what we will have to focus is that we are fair and respectful of each culture. So say for example, if we are working on a project or a program, uh, I mean, at this point in time, I have teams working in different parts of the world, as well as also in India. And when we are working together, we work on the same project. Some elements of it are delivered from a different country, people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and some elements are delivered from people in India. So it is a mix and match. So when you are, working with them, you just don't isolate, or anybody for that matter. Organizations cannot isolate, saying, hey, you know what, some key projects will be delivered from a certain region exclusively and not from another. So I think that kind of um, bringing in those kind of synergies also brings in diverse perspectives. Um, when you bring in diverse perspectives, because they do have, because not everybody is same, so therefore what, people bring in diverse perspective and different problem solving approaches to the problem at hand. So therefore we come up with a very very creative solution, rather than only looking at a specific team or specific set of individuals who will deliver. So therefore, it becomes very, very, and also there are a lot of collaborative tools which are available when people are working from different regions or diverse backgrounds. So therefore, the collaborative tools helps people to interact and voice their views and opinions about, hey, what you did work better. Hey, this is the solution, a simpler solution that I have found. So this works better for us. So I think what, it shows up as a combined effort, and I think the synergies that get built in this entire process actually help strengthen us as an organization. So
Right.
that is my take on it, and also we kind of tend to follow any kind of best practices that we have in this whole journey. I think anything and everything becomes a continuous evolving exercise. I wouldn't say
Right.
that hey, what, we have attained everything, we have kind of achieved the best way forward in the first approach. But I think as we progress, as we work along with a different set of people, I think we also, I mean, we and everybody in this entire team or a group, we get to benefit by learning from each other.
Fantastically. So, because when we had to implement an culture of the inclusiveness, or either that would must be the respectful, that is about what we learn from each other and how we become more collaborative with each other. That is the success story, or the key success for fostering and the right culture, or which we can say as in the inclusive workplace culture. So, as part of where we are discussing about the innovation and the respectful and inclusive work, that the workplace culture should go hand on hand. So
Mhm.
in that case, so when we are discussing about the innovation, so can you exemplify one and two examples of the fostering inclusive innovation you have been as of now that fostered in your organization? No, that is about the that inclusive innovation. Example of one and two you have been initiated within your organization.
Okay. So when I mean some of the examples are we have worked on various projects. I mean I'm specifically talking about some technology projects.
Mhm.
Uh, Say for example, we have had teams who deliver one element of the project from the US, the other element of the
Okay.
project from India. And
Mhm.
then when we come together, we have regular connects, regular meetings on a daily basis,
Okay.
because we kind of deliver everything on agile methodologies. And therefore, you know what, people work together, people have every day 15 minutes or 30-minute conversation of how we did, what are the roadblockers. So therefore you kind of, you know, get to interact better. Sometimes you spend more time with 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 getting to understand people than you would do with your own family members, the way you
Right.
would kind of end up collaborating in an office culture. Apart from that, say for example, if we are driving any kind of wellness or DEI initiatives in an organization, you also kind of, you know, tend to collaborate with your peers in different countries, who are part of your organization, so that you can understand what kind of initiatives or programs did they drive, and did it help them. Hey, can we extend the same program to India, and is that really going to help? Because sometimes, you know, cultural shifts are so much that, you know, what could be a success there could not necessarily fly here. So those kind of things, wherever we have seen success, we kind of exchange those discussions and see that, you know, if we can extend those programs, or we can probably tweak those programs which will kind of, you know, retrofit into our environment, or our region or our country. So those are some of the initiatives that I can think about which really works for us as an organization or as a.
Fantastically. So that are the especially the key strategies you have been shared about the how organization can foster a culture of inclusiveness, collaborativeness, and we're also connecting to the diverse workforce. So as part of the last one question which I asked to the every interviews I have been done, so that is especially to the organization specific where we talk a lot of things we have been initiated as part of strategy, as part of culture, as part of engaging the people. But one most important thing is that how you are attracting the people for your organization, and however they may be the higher number of people want to transit into your organization, and secondly how you retain. That is one another matrix would be how many you have been interacted, how many you have been offered, and later on how many has been left your organization within 6 months. So that would be depend on your organization people strategies, which I call that your organization's up that the USP for number one, it is engaging the people and retaining the people, so that when this conversation is going to the many people who are even though they are 50,000 of community, so they would also really get through what should be the right strategy of organization or the USP, so can the retain the right kind of people within the organization. Otherwise that filtration can be done possibly from the first hand, either it I say as in the recruitment. So as the we are here, you represent the providence. So what is the providence, the USPs for attracting? Then second, it is the engaging and retaining the people.
um so at this point in time, I think, you know, we have spoken at length about it. Um, we look at, hiring diverse talent from all across, um, not just from colleges, but also from lateral, not just from big cities, but also from tier 2, tier 3 kind of cities, so that
Okay.
we are fair, we give everybody an opportunity. That is one thing that I can think about, what we do as an organization. Um, um, that's something about Providence. I mean, that's something about the organization that we do. We retain people through having the right set of programs. We talk about how do we keep them engaged in an organization through various opportunities that you give to for them to grow, to learn, to develop their skills, and then to contribute. So I think a lot of people look at, hey, what I have learned, how do I contribute? That is something that, that is always on people's mind. So I think, that's something that we would want to tap, and we look at uh, doing that for our people. And that's in terms of retaining people that we do.
Right. So rightly, the strategies you have been shared, especially it is about the USPs of organization where they can attract the most performing people, and that same performance can be delivered when the person within the organization, whatever your strategies so far, fostering an inclusive workplace and where also the diverse talent engaging within the organization. So this is all the conversation we had in the last 1.5 hour discussion we have been done. So most important, it is about your USPs, how you put all your efforts together with a mission. Either it we can say as a mission statement that's driving all that efforts of your organization to achieving what your the people strategies are look forward to that helping the organization to achieve the goal. So thank you so much, the Samina, giving your time as well as your valuable inputs on the building or creating a collaborative and inclusive workplace. So I wish you best of luck for your the Providence grow faster and having all those new strategy you have been adopted within organization that could be all the way successful. So and thank you also for giving your time and sharing these insight to the people manager community and this publication platform.
Thank you so much for your time, and you have a good day.